Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us on Classic Vinyl Podcast. This is Justin and Tyler with you once again.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad you were able to make it. And of course, this is the podcast where we listen to and review songs and albums from the classic vinyl era of the 60s and 70s. I don't think we've veered outside of that yet.
We haven't yet. I've had a couple people that are near and dear to me that have encouraged us to branch out, but we've got just too much material of the 60s and 70s still.
Yeah, I was looking at the list I have for songs and albums that doesn't even cover any of it, and I think I've got over 500 of them right now. So maybe in 10 years or so, we'll venture out into the 80s.
Mm-hmm. So strap in. It's going to be a long ride.
Yeah, it'll be a little while.
And we hope that you'll join us on this journey.
Yeah, you're ready to live in the past.
I am so ready for living in the past.
Of course, today we're doing Jethro Tull, Living in the Past. We haven't done anything on Jethro Tull since our second episode when we did Jethro Tull's album Aqualung.
Yeah, sitting on a park bench.
Yeah, it's been a minute, hasn't it?
Eyeing little girls with bad intent.
Yeah.
That's an infamous lyric.
Yes, it is. I probably have said this before, but as many bands, I think anybody that listens to this knows that the Beatles are my favorite band. I really love the Doors, the Who, and pretty much all classic rock in general. But Jethro Tull is what got me into classic rock. Here I'm sitting in probably about 1989. I'm 11, 12 years old, and I had, my dad used to make me sit down and listen to albums all night long, which I hated at the time. I remember listening to Led Zeppelin and the Doors and the Moody Blues, and of course Jethro Tull. Aqualung was an album he had, and he loved it. But I had it on tape, and I started listening to it, and I really enjoyed that album, and it really kind of propelled me into the other music.
Does your dad listen to the podcast?
I highly doubt it.
I wish he would. I think he'd get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I'll have to make him listen to it once.
Yeah, so Justin's dad, if you ever listen to this episode, hi.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for introducing me to Jethro Tull.
Yeah, because now he's introduced me to it.
Yeah, and of course we're doing Jethro Tull, Living in the Past, and this song was actually emailed to us and suggested by Adam from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheesehead. Go at Cheesehead Adam.
Yeah, exactly. And this was actually a song that was on my list, but it's a pretty deep list. Like I said, over 500 episodes we have ready to go.
And I gotta say, Adam, good submission. I'm glad that you suggested this one.
So let me get a little history about the band Jethro Tull. They're an English rock band formed in Blackpool, Lancashire in 1967. Without a doubt, if you know Jethro Tull, has a very unusual sound, and they've been described all kinds of different things: progressive rock, folk rock, hard rock, blues rock, with elements of jazz and classical music. And I think the one thing this band is probably obviously most famous for is the use of the flute.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rare in rock and roll music.
It really is, but I'll say that jazz flute really fits.
Yeah, it does. You can tell a Jethro Tull song.
Yeah.
So the group's founder, Ian Anderson, he's been the only consistent member of the band over all the years, with a revolving door of other musicians. I mean, this is really, Jethro Tull is Ian Anderson.
Yeah, when most people talk about Jethro Tull, that's who they're talking about, is that actual person, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Ian Anderson's friends from school, Jeffrey Hammond and John Evans, they were in an original three-piece lineup with Ian Anderson, kind of before adding a couple other members, Barry Barlow and Mike Stevens and Chris Riley, which actually made the band a six-piece unit for a little while.
This is an orchestra.
Yeah. The lineup during their most famous album that we were talking about earlier, Aqualung, was Ian Anderson on vocals, guitars, and flute, Martin Barr on guitars, Jeffrey Hammond on bass, and John Evan on piano and organ. He actually was called John Evans. For some reason, he dropped the S off his last name. I don't know why, but then Clive Bunker on drums. Now, there are multiple musicians in the years after that, with Ian Anderson being the only original member still touring to this day.
I was going to ask you real quick. Ian Anderson, you said that he's the lead singer and the flutist?
Correct.
So...
And he plays guitars.
And he plays guitar as well. Wow, he's a busy guy. So, yeah, he really is Jethro Tull.
Yeah, he is. He writes all the music for the most part. In total, 24 studio albums, 4 EPs, 9 live albums, 15 compilation albums, and a total of 33 singles. Here in the U.S., 20 of those 24 albums were in the top 100. 12 of them made the top 20, with both Thick as a Brick and A Passion Play hitting number 1. Funny enough, is Aqualung being their most famous album by I think a long shot, did not hit number 1.
Surprising.
In the UK, all 24 albums they released were in the top 100. 16 of them in the top 20, Stand Up being their only number 1 album in the UK. They did have one top 20 charting live album in the UK. It hit number 20. Also, the compilation album, Living in the Past, hit number 3 in the US and number 8 in the UK. As far as singles are concerned, in the US, they had 7 of their singles in the top 100, but only 2 singles reached the top 20, with Living in the Past, the song we're doing here, being their top charting ever single at number 11, which is kind of strange.
Not bad. I'm a little surprised that it didn't get higher, like even to top 10.
Well, there's quite a few of their songs that still get pretty heavy radio airplay, but it just seems strange they didn't have very much chart success as far as singles. Now, in the UK, they did have 11 singles in the top 100, with 3 being in the top 20. Once again, Living in the Past was their top charting at number 3. In Canada, I didn't really have any. I did some research and I couldn't find any information on albums, but as far as singles, 5 singles reached the top 100, with Bungle in the Jungle, which is another really popular song of theirs, was their top charting in the Canadian charts, hitting number 4. Jethro Tull, being the strange sound they have, they've been influenced for many bands in music around the world. 70 million albums worldwide, and they're another band that for some reason has been left out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I think anymore, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost a badge of honor not to be inducted.
That day will come. Let's just hold out for as long as we can, right, Jethro Tull?
I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like we've talked before, is just a complete and utter joke.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's not even number 1. It shouldn't be called Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, they just put Dolly Parton in. And I'm not saying that Dolly Parton isn't deserving of a Music Hall of Fame, but she certainly isn't deserving of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
She's always been a country singer.
Yeah, they really should just call it the Music Hall of Fame and the Popularity Music Hall of Fame, because we know bands that deserve to be there aren't. And unfortunately, when some of them finally get there, half the members are dead by that time and don't get to, enjoy it. And it's just a shame. But enough of that. Do you want to get to the song review?
Yeah, let's review it.
And now it's time for the song review.
So we're doing Jethro Tull, Living in the Past. Let me give you a little history on this song first before we get into it. But actually, before I do that, Tyler, after listening to this song, we listened to it a few times. Mm-hmm. What is your history with this song?
This song, it does get a lot of radio play. I've only listened to it passively. I've never listened to it actively. I wouldn't know it by the name Living in the Past. But I do recognize the beat and the rhythm to it. I recognize the music. I'll get to that later, but it's kind of hard to understand some of the lyrics. It's mixed kind of heavy.
Yeah, it is. And did you know this was Jethro Tull?
I would not have recognized it as Jethro Tull.
Even with the flute?
Even with the flute.
That's strange.
Been the giveaway to me, but I don't know. I've got so much of Aqualung stuck in my head when it comes to Jethro Tull that, this just doesn't sound at all like Aqualung.
Yeah, let me get to the details on the song. This was released in the UK on May 2nd of 1969, and what is very strange is they waited a minute and didn't release this until October 12th of 1972 in the US, so 3.5 years later.
They really reserved this for... this is one that the Brits just wanted to keep to themselves for a while. I guess
so. So this was Jethro Tull's 4th single they released. This was released only as a single in the UK, but in 1972 it was released in the US on their double LP, which was also titled Living in the Past. It was a compilation of all the band's UK only released, singles and outtakes and things like that. It actually did fairly well, the album. The album hit number 3 in the US charts and number 1 in the Canadian charts. So it was a pretty popular album in 1972. Now, the 1972 version was a little bit different as they remixed it, replacing some of the flute parts with an organ part. A little bit different. We listened to both versions. I prefer the 1972 remix because you get the organ, but you also get the flute. So this was recorded at both Vanton Sound Studios in New Jersey and United Western Recorders in Los Angeles. It was produced by Ian Anderson and Terry Ellis. It was written and sang, of course, by Ian Anderson. You've got Glenn Cornick on bass, Martin Barr on guitar, and Clive Bunker on drums. Obviously, Ian Anderson is on the vocals, is on the flute. I'm sure he plays some backing guitar and stuff as well.
On different tracks, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. So this song, if you're into music, the one thing about it, it's got a very strange time signature where you get a lot of songs that are the 4/4. This is on the 5/4 time signature, which is kind of strange for rock music, especially at the time. As far as popularity, this song reached number 3 in the UK charts in 1969, number 15 in the US, and number 16 in Canada in 1972. So this was the band's actual first top 20 hit in the US. So this is kind of what broke them in over here. So Ian Anderson has stated that he wrote this song with the intention of it being a single. He was kind of funny when he wrote that way because he had a lot of statements to make about God and war and
I'll say he did.
popular culture, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But he also said he hated the song very severely over the years. He really disliked this song for whatever reason.
Really?
But he said about from the 90s on, he kind of grew to like the song. So he's also stated lyrically this song was a bit of a rejection of the swinging fashion of the post-Beatles hippie idealistic period. You know how everything was the summer of love and happy-go-lucky, whatever you want. But
the sexual revolution.
yeah, here's a quote for him. There were a lot of people talking pompously about love and peace and revolution. And, you know, people then, as they are now, were quick to jump up and scream and shout. But they're not actually really quite sure what they're stamping their feet about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of apropos to today's society.
It really is. We've come full circle again, and we're back to this. Oh, well, we've been so hip to being on the edge and edgy. Well, now you're going to start swinging back the other way on the pendulum.
Yeah, I just think it's funny because that's pretty much what this song is living in the past. You know, he's written this in 1969, and obviously looking back at, you know, probably 66, 67, 68 primarily as being the time of flowers and love and everything's great and everything's changing. And I think he's kind of poking fun out of it a little bit.
I think so. Well, I think he's probably respecting the fact that when the revolution started, people knew what they were fighting about and knew what they were fighting for. But as the years went on, that the later generations have just kind of lost their way. And we see that a lot with the hippie movement that happened in San Francisco when the hippies took over Alcatraz. There's a history to look into if you haven't read up on that one. Just Wikipedia that. It started off as a protest of the Native Americans wanting to reclaim native lands. And then the hippies moved in, and it just became about drugs and drinking and mooching off of everybody else.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of all the young kids I see wearing Led Zeppelin and Beatles or Doors or Cream or whatever. You pick the band that was popular during the 60s. They're wearing all their band shirts and stuff because it's cool, right?
Yeah.
But they probably don't know a damn song from them.
Well, here's another one, like Nirvana, right?
Yeah.
People wearing a Nirvana shirt and what Kurt Cobain committed suicide over. That's really ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of strange. So after listening to this song, Tyler, I know this was pretty much your first time actively listening to this song.
For
so
sure.
what are your thoughts on Living in the Past?
This one is really awesome. This one has such that it comes across so different from your regular rock and roll. And it kind of mellows it down. So it just kind of goes a little bit slower, but at the same time, it's got a real peppy, like it's got those 5 beats in the same 4 rhythm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is peppy, but it also slows it down, and he's just kind of sitting there. You got the flute in there, the bass opens up, and then the flute joins in, and then you get a tambourine, and you get all the instruments start joining in, and it's just a big cornucopia of sound. And they all are playing together, just a real nice, smooth, relaxing beat and tune. And then the lyrics join in. And let's see, the first time going through, I thought, well, this is a guy that's talking about he'd walk forever to go and see his girl, and he'd walk there to drink her water. I don't know what that means exactly,
You probably think it's some kind of sexual innuendo.
It kind of comes across that way, and I'm not sure that it's meant to be that way, but or if it's meant so much to be like I would, walk for miles just to kiss your lips, something like that.
I think I take it as he would pretty much do anything for her.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like he's got this like commitment to love, and that's what his love would push him to do. But this is also kind of the old fashioned love where gallant knights would go and conquer other armies in the name of their fair maidens, right?
Well, I don't think he's quite that old.
He's not going that far back. I'm exaggerating that, but I mean he is talking about like, okay, he loves her, but then he's like, it seems like the whole love movement or the free love movement has missed out on that. When you're in the middle of a sexual revolution, then it's not special anymore. You don't have like that special love and romance and courtship kind of thing that causes you to want to walk for miles just to, be with your girl. And then he branches off to other things like, okay, I used to like to get together with the crowds and, I'd sit there and laugh with the boys and the girls. I always had a good time with them, but now they just are wanting to fight, but they don't know what they're fighting about. And they've kind of lost the vision of what it is. And it's just a bunch of foot stamping, but nobody knows why they're mad, And I think you got a lot of that with the movement, with the anti-war and all the sentiments. And then later on, they're just kind of like, well, we're still mad. Well, the war's over. What are you mad about? It's kind of what he's saying. So I get the message. This is one of those 60s songs that's, apart from the flute, it's got a hippie feel to it, kind of hippie jamming song where you just kind of bop, bop, bop all the time. So listening to him talking about, singing about living in the past, and kind of trying to get back to things of value. I think that's the message I'm getting from Jethro Tull here, is that they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater as they've jumped on the bandwagon. They've been protesting so long they forgot what they were protesting about. They forget that there's things around that have real value, and you don't want to throw the value out as you're just trying to, go against the man or the values of the past, right? It's important to keep that perspective that you still have value, and that you yourself value yourself and value certain things, and stand up for what you believe in, and don't just stand up because everybody else is. Stand up for what you believe in. Be yourself. And maybe I'm going a little deeper than he is, but I don't think so. I think that's really what he wrote this song about. I feel that in the words. I feel it in the music. That it's like, just be happy, have a good time, pick your battles, make sure that you maintain your values. That seems to be the message I'm getting. And therefore I really enjoy this song. And it's not just album filler or background music anymore. This is something that I'm going to enjoy listening to it for years to come. So what are your thoughts on this one, Justin?
I think I'd have to disagree with you a little bit, because I think Ian Anderson's writing to me always reflects sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
A good example is people always said that Aqualung was one of the first concept albums, and he said it was no such thing. And so he went and created a concept album called Thick as a Brick that was poking fun at a concept album. So I find this as poking fun at the people that are still trying to live in the past. I feel like a lot of his writing is in jest, poking fun at the problems in society and how fickle people are.
So I just totally missed the joke.
To me, he didn't want to be categorized, and he didn't like people that categorize themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the song, I love the bass intro. I love when the flute kicks in. I'm not a huge proponent of the flute, but it works in Jethro Tull's music. Mm-hmm. This song is a very bass heavy song, which I think when you're talking about the lyrics are kind of hard to understand. Ian Anderson's lyrics are always kind of hard for me to understand, get the exact words. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's just the way he sings or whatever, because he's got a very distinct voice. Mm-hmm. To me, when the flute kicks in and when his voice kicks in, I can tell you a Jethro Tull song. And I'm not, even though Aqualung is what got me into him, I'm not a huge album guy when it comes to Jethro Tull. I love Aqualung through and through. I think it's a 10 out of 10 album. And then I like a lot of their singles. So that's pretty much where I go. But I love the lyrics in there. Now there's revolution, but they don't know what they're fighting. Mm-hmm. I mean, that pretty much says that they're still in this revolution, but he's saying you guys don't even know why you're doing it. And so I think you did hit it on the nail on the head there is bandwagon.
Yeah.
We got these people joining the bandwagon. It's got quite a few flute solos in this thing. I did notice the song's about 3.5 minutes long, and all reality, about 2 minutes of the song are instrumental.
Seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, so the 5/4 timing gives it this weird thing. He's almost not even singing. It's almost like an early talk rap type of thing in a way.
Like beatnik.
It's kind of strange in that way. If you've heard the song or you need to go listen to the song, it's just kind of strange the way it does it. A pretty decent song. It's definitely not my favorite Jethro Tull song. I don't visit it that often. I hear it on the radio. I wouldn't say I skip it, but it's not my favorite. Do you want to get the song rating?
Let's rate it.
Song rating.
All right, listener, if this is your first episode, I'll briefly explain our rating scale. It's a 0 to 10, 10 being the best. I probably put this one higher than I should have now that you pointed out that this is Jethro Tull or Ian Anderson's writing. And he's very sarcastic.
Yeah, but you got to stick to the rating you give it because you're easily swayed.
I am very easily swayed. So I put this one at a 7.5. I would have given this one an 8 because I love the music. I love the message that I thought it had.
It's music, right? It can have any message you want it to have.
Yeah, exactly. This is art, and it's all subject to interpretation. I really liked it. I wish I could have understood it a little clearer, but that just takes it down 0.5 point for me. 7.5. I'm going to stick with that because this is really good music. Where do you put this one?
Well, it's funny because I'm not quite as high as you on this one.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really enjoy this song that much. It's okay. It's okay. I rate this song a 6.5.
Okay.
It's not a skipper for me, but it's not really, it's just, I don't go searching for it, put it that way.
All right. Well, our cycles have not yet matched up. So, I mean, if we start coming out every week and we're having the same rating as the other guy.
Well, and keep in mind, a lot of these songs I've heard thousands and thousands of times more than you. So some of them wear on me a little bit too. And it shouldn't reflect my rating because I've always said it's not the song's fault if it's good or bad, and if you like it or not. But either way, 6.5.
Yeah. And that's also the purpose of this podcast is to give your seasoned experience and your rating against my complete novice rating.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm seasoned. I mean, I think neither of us know what we're talking about, but we can only say what we like.
You're steeped in it a little longer than I am.
Maybe a little bit, but
that's a good English term. This is a British band. This is a British song. This is a jolly good fellow. Jethro Tull.
Yeah, that's Jethro Tull living in the past. And like always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or have a song or an album you'd like us to rate, send us an email at classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. I know I say it every time, but we really, really do appreciate you taking your time to listen to us. So till next time, we'll see you.
See ya. Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates and also share us with your music-loving friends.